If we say that no person is illegal, are we implying that we don't have any borders? And if we believe we don't have any borders, do we actually have a country? Think about it. I think the answer is no, honestly. And I think a lot of the politicians who are advocating and egging people on to participate in these protests understand that. They're hoping many of you guys take the bait, just like many of you did during the BLM, George Floyd, mostly peaceful yet fiery protests. And remember what happened with that? Yeah, I honestly, I still don't know what was the point of any of that. You know, those organizers are living somewhere in one of their 5 mansions from the money they raised in donations, but that's neither here nor there. In any case, I think that the politicians, just like last time, know what they're doing and they're trying to rile up Americans. Let me just say, I understand that when people are using this phrase, they're usually coming from an emotional perspective. Okay, I come from a family of immigrants, and I can imagine that it doesn't feel good knowing that someone you love might get deported. I get that, I understand. So in an effort to advocate for them, they will adopt one of these phrases, no one is illegal. Okay, I get it. I also know that some people will adopt this phrase because they're coming from an intellectual perspective. Perhaps they were taught to believe this narrative that, well, America is on stolen land, and because America is on stolen land, then the government has no right to say that anyone is illegal because this country was never their country to begin with. So I understand these perspectives. I understand where people are coming from, but the problem with circumventing the immigration process, even if it means we're doing it for someone we care about, is that, well, number one, it implies that the laws don't matter. And if the laws don't matter, then more people are going to break the law. And the second problem is that by circumventing the immigration process, you are missing out on an opportunity to properly vet the people coming into the country, which I have to just say is quite ironic, because a common rebuttal that I hear from those in favor of open border policies is that, well, what about people fleeing war zones? What about people fleeing violence? Don't you care about their lives? Okay, very valid concern. Now, there are avenues and a formal process that you go through in order to get into the country if you're seeking asylum. There are people out there that genuinely need help, and there's a process for that. But when you circumvent that process, you're also allowing the dangers that these same people were fleeing from to come into the country as well. So you're letting the victims come in, and you're letting their oppressors come in at the same time. If there's no vetting, that's inevitably what you're doing. That doesn't seem very loving to me. It's also worth mentioning because, again, ironically, people on the left get so outraged at the fact that children are being detained by ICE when they're in the middle of class. And, they seem to be implying that they really care about the kids. Well, what about the kids who are literally being sold into sex slavery as a result of open border policies? Because again, the first problem of this dilemma of circumventing the process is you are allowing more people to break the law. And if no one is getting vetted, you are literally giving the perfect cover for human traffickers. Not only that, what do you think happens when we allow the country to be flooded with individuals who have no understanding of our laws and don't respect the foundational values that made this country what it is? See, if you want to erase a nation, most people think that a hostile takeover involves war. It involves tanks and bombs and military. And I mean, yeah, you could do that, but you could also slowly dilute a country's identity by importing millions of people into the country who have conflicting worldviews that are antithetical to our way of life. Some people might think, oh, well, that's just diversity of thought. Listen, I am the first one to jump in line and advocate for diversity of thought. But the reality is when people argue for open borders, what they're actually pushing is globalism. They're pushing for a one world government, because how can a country govern itself if it doesn't even know what to govern? Also, it's so interesting if you pay attention, and maybe I'll have to make another video on this at a later point, but it's so interesting that when you pay attention to the politicians that are advocating for all of the anti-ICE raids, a lot of them are very much against the Second Amendment. They want to do away with assault weapons. They want to do away with the right to bear arms. Well, why? You're saying that ICE, they're fascists, and yet you're totally fine with disarming your citizens. I don't quite understand it. And again, this is the point. They're playing a game. They want you disarmed. They want the system overwhelmed. They want the culture to be replaced with a culture that is hostile to the Constitution. And if that happens, your way of life, your freedom to speak, to protest, to vote, to own private land, that's all gone. I don't know if you guys get that. But let me ask you another question, okay? Because maybe I'm losing some people with all of this tinfoil hat rhetoric. Let me just ask you and break it down very simply, okay? If you are one of those people that truly believe in open borders, like you actually truly believe that no person is illegal, would you be okay if a random stranger forced their way into your home? Would you be okay if they ate your food, slept in your bed, stole your stuff, and hurt your family without your consent? I mean, if you're truly in favor of open borders, then why do you lock your doors at night? And I ask this because whether or not people want to admit it, we instinctively understand the need to have boundaries in order to protect not only ourselves, but our family members. But instead, we're being told it's moral or even righteous to do away with national borders by the same people, mind you, who have private security, live in gated communities, or live in communities that maybe are not as susceptible to high crime, or they have some vested interest in weakening this country, whether it's for votes, political gain, cheap labor, the pursuit of some radical ideological agenda, or just because they like chaos. I don't know. All I'm saying is that if we believe in right and wrong, then we have to be honest about what's happening. Enforcing immigration laws, it's not cruelty. It's not bigotry or fascism or racism. It's common sense. And expecting people to respect the laws of the nation they're trying to enter, I think, is the bare minimum requirement. It's the bare minimum to preserve the values that made this country worth coming to in the first place. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. So if you guys enjoyed this video, or maybe you totally disagree with me, let me know in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. And as always, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button for more thought-provoking commentary such as this. My name is Vanessa. You may know me as Gothix, and I will see you in the next one.